So we'll start out, and we're going to start out by hand for a minute. We'll make 3 loops on there. So there are 3 bands on there. We'll take 1 single band. We'll loop that through and reclaim that. Then we'll take just this cap band part. You can see how there's another loop in the center that we'll go through that. Now I'm holding, whether or not I have a latch hook or not, I'm holding this part, these 2 bands, back a little ways. And I'm taking the hook and I'm putting it through that front piece, and I'm pressing right here with my finger. The pressure keeps these bands split away from these bands. So that allows me to grab another band here and then take those, and I can either do, if I had a normal hook, just take them and lift them up over there and then slide that back, or since I've got a latch hook, I can just slide it up over there. Again, I'm still keeping these back, then reclaim that. Now, you can either do that 2 more times, or you can put it on the board and do it that way too. So I'm going to show you, if you were to be using the board, what you'd be doing too. So we'll take the 2 bands from one set and put it down. We'll take another 2 bands from another set and put it down. So that way we've got 1 single band on this side looped through the center 3 cap band, and we've got another band over on this side looped through the center. We might actually want to move that down. Yeah, because I want to say that should be the center point. So let's move it down to here. It's actually a little bit easier to move with the Rainbow Loom hook. So I'm just going to stretch that and move that down there. Just going to take that one and move it down there. Alright, now it is in the center. That's 6 pegs up here above it and 6 pegs below it. So now we'll continue on. This is where I say you could make the other 2 on the hook when you had the first 2 on there, or you can put on the board and I'll use this hook this time. We'll go through that center here, holding onto the hook. It's almost like making a slip knot. Pull it on through, put that other end on the hook, and then put that onto the peg. I want to do that same thing 1 more time for that one there. Another way you could do it if you're having trouble with holding it, is you can actually put it on the peg and just hold it like that. And you can grab the band, pull it on through. It's already half on the peg, a little bit easier for some maybe. So it's a couple different ways. But however you do it, all on the hook, part on the board, or all on the board, you want to get to this outcome here. So there's a band here, band here, band here, band here, all single bands. And the center band, 1 single band, is looped around 3 times. This is our layer 1 starting point here. So now, take 1 band, and put it around all 4. Looking at my notes. And loop those bottom 2 bands out, up, and over. Keep pushing it down because you're going to have lots of layers on top of layers. So now we want to expand up 2 pegs. So we're going to take our top band from the left and the right. We're going to move that up to the next section. And we're going to place 2 bands on all of these all the way around. So it's going to be 6 pegs. That's going to be 2 bands on each section, so that's going to be 12 bands. Loop the bottom 2 bands out, up and over. Careful on that one, and that one, that one, and that one, because they're going to be single bands. So a little more delicate. You also want to be careful when you're doing this not to knock off those top bands that we got. Because then your project can start to unravel, and it's very hard to get it back to where it should be at that point. Not impossible, but very hard. So then we want to expand down 2 pegs. So we're going to take the 2 bands that are on top. We're going to move those down. We're going to take the 2 bands on top on the left side. Move those down. And we're going to have 8 pegs going around, and we're going to place 16 bands. So 2 bands on each of them. And here is where we're going to start to attach our horn, our large horn. Going to make sure it's curved up when we attach it. So here's the large horn and here's the small horn. You can tell that they kind of have a bit of a natural curve to them. We're going to attach. Want to keep we're going to need to add another band here. So put one side from your pair of pegs back onto your hook. And we're going to take 2 bands. We're going to pull that, all 4 of those bands, onto those 2 bands. And we're going to place those ends on the top left and the top right. And then we're just going to, here, if I can show you from the side actually. I actually crisscrossed those. Being my perfectionist self, I don't want to crisscross those. So, best if we don't. Yeah, if yours are crisscrossed too and you can help it, that's just untwisting them, because we're actually going to be moving these up a little bit later, and it's going to be very helpful to not be crisscrossed. So, make sure that we've got 2 separate lines going through, and you can see them there. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. Also, I'm going to turn it on the side here for you, and hopefully you can kind of see that my horn is curved up. And by up, I mean toward me, because normally it's flat. So when it's on its side like that, hopefully you can kind of tell the curve in it. So we're going to curve it up, so up toward us. We're actually going to push this back down just for a minute till we get through to the next layer. We're going to keep using 2 bands all the way around, and we're going to place 2 more on the left and the right going down. Just 1 section on each though. Then we're going to add our nostrils here. Push that down so we have a little more room. I'll put the nostrils on the one. Okay. So we'll take our nostrils and put 1/2 on one peg, 1/2 of the gray band onto the other peg. So we've got our nostril right there in the middle. We'll do the same with the nostril on the other side. Alright. Then the rest, just 2 bands the rest of the way around. So we'll do 2 bands there, and 2 bands there. I like to keep them the least amount of twists in them as possible too. And 2 bands there. Alright, so now we will loop out, up, and over as normal, ignoring that this piece is just hanging there. This one's going to have 4 bands when you're looping out, up, and over. So is this one. And back to 2 bands and 2 bands. And push those down. Another way to push them down is take a crochet hook and just press down on each of these sections. Alright. We are now going to expand the top 2 pegs and the bottom 2 bottom 2 pegs. Make sure you're expanding 2 bands when you expand. And when you expand this top section, you want to make sure that the horn is the one that moves up, the bands that the horn is on. So it's a little tricky to see. If you need, see, I pulled this one off, and you can tell that the horns aren't really moving. So it's the next layer that has the horns. So if you've got multiple hooks, you can just use another hook at this point. Otherwise, use a holding stick or something like that. I'm actually going to just use another hook. So while I'm holding that one, I'm going to take the next set of bands off. This is the one that the horn is attached to. I'm going to move that up a peg there. And I'm going to replace those other bands. Same thing with this other side. Going to take the one off that's on top. The one below that is the one that has the horn attached to it. I'm going to take that one with the horn attached, move it up, and replace the original top one. I just locked my thing in there, didn't I? Oops. Alright, we're just gonna slide it through that way. Slide it through that way. There we go. And now it's above it again. Alright, and that was the expanding of the top half. Now we are going to expand the bottom part. This one, it doesn't really matter, so you can just take your top 2 bands and move it down. And take your top 2 bands and move it down. Alright. Now, on this layer, we are going to attach this other part of this horn here. Just like we did with the first one, and like we're going to do with most all these pieces, we are going to add another band that goes through here that's going to be part of the outer edge circle. And I'll use the latch hook. You can use the normal hook. Just put the hook through there. Make sure all the bands are on your hook before you pull that out, your holding stick. Take a single band. If you want, you can even put the single band right on there. And pull it on through. And put it on the next pick. Alright, and then the rest of the, should be 11. We're just going to go around, so 1, 2, single bands, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I just went around the outer edge, all the way around, one band on each. That is our layer 5. Alright, then we'll just want to loop that. So start wherever you like for the looping. And grab your bottom band and loop it on over. Some of them might be single bands, some of them might be double bands. And if you're not sure, you want to pull down the different bands and see what's coming from where. That one actually looks like 1 and 1 there, so we're going to grab all of those. You always want to make sure you've got the 2 single bands at the top. And you're grabbing everything else that's below those 2 single bands. I'm trying really hard not to knock off those top bands. Yep, that one has 3 with it. And that one has 3 with it, same as the other side. There's 2 and 2. Alright, so that attached our large horn now. Layer 6 is when we're going to start to attach the first half of the small horn. Gonna do the same thing that we've been doing. Gonna take one holding stick from our horns and put our hook through that. Take out our holding stick once it's through that. Put that. It was easier doing it this way actually. I'm just going to put that on there. Am I doing the wrong one? Yep. That's actually got to go this way, doesn't it? And that goes through that one. Alright. Make sure our horn is curving up. If you put it on curving the wrong way, you can always reposition it and, you know, re-curve it and all of that too. It's not going to be too terrible, especially on that small one, because he's kind of more just straight up and center. Alright. So now, there's a small horn and one band on all of the rest for a total of 11 more bands. Oop, out, up, and over. Should be 2 bands on all of your bands. Layer 7, we are going to attach the other half of the horn to 2 bands this time. And eyes, we're going to be putting the eyes on this layer as well. Alright. So we'll do like we've been, put those bands on our hook. Oh, I guess I grabbed the Rainbow Loom hook this time. That's fine. We'll slide that through those bands. And we'll take the eyes. Will we take the eyes? Nope. We will take a single gray first on each side. Then we will take the eyes. Now, when we do the eyes, we've got 2 bands here, and we've got 2 bands here. We want to take the first 2 bands off, so we're going to keep those on the stick. They're actually going to stay on the stick. And we're going to take the 2 bands right there, and we're actually going to put that like it was a normal band onto that second section down. And I try to make sure they're not twisted. And we're just going to leave that hanging off like we've been doing with the nostrils there. Or not the nostrils, the horns. I'm going to do that same thing on the other side. Leave half of it hanging on. Take half of it and put it on. Okay, 1 band on the rest. We'll take those and loop the bottom bands out, up, and over. We'll just act like those sticks are not there. Loop them out, up, and over. It should be 2 bands again on all of them that we're grabbing. Now we are on layer 8. We're going to do 1 band on all of them all the way around, and here's where we'll attach the other half of the eye as well. This is step 9. Somehow I have a couple black bands mixed into my gray bands for a minute. And we'll attach the eye here. So now we'll take and we'll loop the bottom two, well not two on this one. This one's going to be bottom 3 bands and bottom 2 on the rest. If your eye is on the wrong side, like mine just was there, just spread open the bands. Here, let me see if I can do a close-up for you here. I don't know if you can see this, but right here I've got one eye that's on the outside and one eye that's on the inside layer. We want everything to be on the outside layer. So if we pull up on this top half and we just push the eye right on through, then that makes it so the eye is on the outer layer, and we want it on the outer layer. If you look from the front, you can start to see his nose and his little horns, and yep. Eventually here it's going to start to really come out, and it's not going to be as easy to lay flat, so hopefully you guys can bear with me on that. Alright. That was layer 8. So now we are on to layer 9. One band on all. That should be 12 of them. All the way around. Okay, and we'll loop again. Bottom 2 bands on all of them this time. Condense bottom 2 pegs up. So we're going to take, alright, so we're going to take the bottom 2 bands off the bottom right peg. We're going to move it up one peg. We're going to take the bottom 2 bands below that and loop it up and over. And do that to the bottom left as well. Alright. I'm stuck. Alright. One band on all 10 and loop that. It's one band on all of them all the way around. That was layer 10. Now we're on to layer 11, which is step 12. We're going to put one band on the top 7 and not on the bottom 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stop there. So I'm not doing this bottom right one. 5, 6, and 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we do not have one here, here, or here. And then we're going to loop. So when we loop, we want to... Alright, so we're going to loop 8 of them. So we're going to loop this bottom one here, but we won't loop anything with down here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Push that down. This is what's going to give him that natural curve of the neck so that his head goes down. Alright. One band on all. So now we're going to do one band on everything, and we're going to add the ears at this level. So find where your ears went. That is a tail. Those are ears. Alright. So, same thing as what we've been doing. Going to want to put the ears on their own individual band. So we'll want to grab an ear, pull it out, put it on our hook. Take a single band, slide the ear onto that single band, and the ear is going to go this top left here. So right there. Then we're going to have a single band. We're going to put the ear on the other side. So again, get your ear onto your hook. Make sure it's on the hook before you take out your holding stick. Put that onto one single band. And again, if it's easier, you can actually put the band on the board. To slide your ear onto it. And put that other half on the board there. Now we've got our ears. One band on all. So we will continue going all the way around with one band on, not a black band. Grabbing those black ones. One gray band on all of them. We'll loop the bottom band out, up, and over. We'll just have one band on this peg and this peg. We'll have two bands on all of the others. We'll act like that ear's not there, and we'll make sure to keep it on the outside, so don't let it flip to the inside as you're looping there. That one's the one with one. And there we go. We'll push that down some more. Tuck those ears underneath. So not inside, but underneath with the rest of the face so it can start to come through in a little bit here. Alright. Now we are on layer 13, step 14. We're going to do, push them down so you got some space. I think I need more space there. Alright. We'll do two bands on the top. We'll do two bands on the right, and we'll do two bands on the left. So on the top right and the top left and the top, they all have two bands. The rest of these four are going to have one band. So come down twice on each side. So there's once, there's twice with one single band. Don't do this bottom right one, or the bottom center, or the bottom left one. We're going to come down on the left side twice with one single band each time. Alright, so to recap. No bands, no bands, one band, two bands, two bands, two bands, one band, no bands. Alright, now we will loop. We'll start looping down here. Push those down. Now we're going to expand up two pegs. So we're going to take the top two bands, we're going to move them up a peg. We're going to do that on the left side as well. Take the top two bands and move them up a peg. Alright. We are going to do two bands on the top three and the bottom three. So we're going to take two bands, put it across the top. I'll take two bands and put it down the right side, down once. I'll take two bands and put it down the left side, down once. Then we'll take one single band on the right side. We're going to go down 3 times with one single band. And we're going to take two bands again for the bottom right section. We're going to take two bands for the bottom center section. We're going to take two bands for the bottom left section. Then we're going to do 3 single bands going up again. Right. So, to recap again, we've got 2 bands, 1 band, 1 band, 1 band, 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 1 band, 1 band, 1 band, 2 bands, and 2 bands. Alright, let me make sure that looks good. And let's loop those now. Oops. That one just came off on me as I was about to be looping. I knew I was going to have a problem with that one. Don't like that band. Let's use a different band. Put that one on. Now we'll loop that. Is that right? No, I do not want to do that second one there. Undo that. Alright, let me just start that one over again. That is the band I need there. Alright. And the bottom one. Expand 2 pegs up and 2 pegs down, then 1 band on the rest of them. This is layer 15. So we're going to take the top 2 bands here, and we're going to expand them up. Take the top 2 bands on the left side and expand those up on the top. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom here. I'm going to take the top 2 bands, expand them down, and the top 2 bands on this other side, expand them down. Then we're going to put 1 band on all of the rest of them, or all of them. I am going to need some more gray bands in a minute. Alright, so that was 16 bands. So let's loop the bottom band. This one has 3 that we're looping. Same with this one, that one had 3 as well. The rest of them have 2. Same with on the opposite side though. So that one has 3 right there. Those are very tight bands that we're working with. So be slower if you need to, so as not to break any bands, because we really don't want any breaking. Gonna do 1 more layer here with 1 band on them all. Start to see our little face coming through here. There's the nostrils. We'll fix those later. Right, I need more gray. Okay, this is just one band all the way around on each. Try not to move around too much for you, but I do have to hold it at this point because his nose is starting to point out through there a little too much to lay flat anymore. I'm just putting one band all the way around on each. And then we're going to get into some tricky stuff in a minute. Alright, let's loop that like normal. Yes, I am ambidextrous, if you guys didn't catch that. I just changed hands there. Alright. So now we want to attach our first set of legs, and these are going to be the front legs. So get your front legs ready. And we're going to attach them so that they face down. When you're looking with the sticks that I've got, how I was talking about with the little balls before, and I could tell what was up and down, I want to make sure that my little balls are facing up at this point, because that's going to make my stick go down, or my foot face down, and we're going to attach the legs over the next 3 layers. That's going to be sectioned off. This is going to be 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers for each set of 2 bands that we've got on here. So it's going to end up that these sticks are going to be beside the design for quite some time. So we want to do the same idea as what we've been doing all the way along, of putting the 2 bands that we're going to attach onto a single band. So it gets a little more tricky at this point. Yeah, I'll use this hook. Actually, I want it on that side. And we're going to attach it, if I'm facing it this way, this is going to be the second section up here. I'm going to attach one there, and I'm going to attach one there. Alright, so what I did, in case it was a little hard to see, is I took, like we've been putting that extra band through everything before we attach it, I put that extra band through this bottom layer on the left side when I hold it up like this. So, I guess maybe see it like this. So, this first peg here, and that's going to have its own band here. Then I'm going to do the same thing here with this bottom one, and it's going to end up going here, so it's going to be right about like that. And we want it so that this foot, the toe part of the foot, is facing down. So if we were to have our design flat like this, it would be facing the table. We want to do that on both sides, facing down. So now I'll go through there and get my next single band. Slide slide it through there. I'm going to put that over that second to bottom peg and over the bottom peg. Now once you have those locked in, you want to make sure that the sticks still stay through it, because it's just going to be easier to keep it through it all the way. But at this point, your sticks are pretty much stuck on the side of your design. So when you set it down, if you have a free side, which for right now we do, but in a minute we won't. It's better to set it on that. Alright, same thing on the other side. I want to figure out how it's going to be facing, so it's going to be on like this. So this is my first starter spot. So I'm going to go to the bottom set of bands on that. I'm going to get a band pulled through it. I'm just going to temporarily put it like that. And then I'm going to put it onto the third peg up and the second peg up. When I turn it, it should look just like that. We're going to do the same. Sorry, that was a little loud. Going to do the same thing on the other side here. So get those bottom pair of bands onto your hook. Pull that band. Hope I'm not off the camera here. Pull that band through that set of bands. And put that onto that second to the bottom peg there. And those are stuck to the side. Then we've got our band there. We still need one across the bottom, so we'll put it there. Then we'll work the rest of the way around with one single band. And once you've completed that circle, we can loop the bottom bands on all of that. So we'll loop those bottom bands out, up, and over. When we come to the legs, we want to act like those sticks are not there. What I suggest here is I take my finger and I push at the bottom side where the sticks are coming down past the bottom part of the board, and I push out. This gets the top half to pull away from the board. Then, as I'm looking in through here, I can see the bands that are holding this piece on here, the single band, and the single band that's holding the piece on here. Those are these two bands right there. I don't want to touch those bands. So I want to go in through this little hole right here, and I want to grab the bottom two bands and pull them up through that hole past those single bands for each side and to the center. Then grab the bottom two bands on that one. I almost grabbed three there. The bottom two bands on the right one. Same thing on the right side. I'm going to hold it so that it pulls these out a bit. I'm going to look down there, and I'm not going to take that band or that band. I'm going to take these bottom two bands, and you want to go through that little opening right there in the center. Hopefully you guys have a good view of that. So I'm going to go through there. I'm going to push those other bands aside. I'm going to grab the bottom 2 bands. I'm going to pull those up and over. And then the rest is pretty much just normal looping. Just careful with all of your sticks in the way. Push those on down. Kinda hard to push down around the legs, but do your best because we do have another layer coming up here in a minute. Alright, next layer. Let's attach the feet first, the next layer on that. We should have 2 more sets of bands and 2 more sets of bands. So let's start with the top 2 there. Actually, I'm going to just use a normal hook this time. See how that goes for a minute. Well, take a band. Pull that through. Make sure not to get it twisted in here. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side here. Take the next set of 2 bands, working your way toward the top of your holding stick. If you need, you can pull out the 2 bands that you need to, and that sometimes is a little bit easier to get your hook through. I'll put that one on the bottom 2 pegs. Okay, doing good. Let's do the right side now. Same thing. Gotta be around that side, don't I? Do it from the center, or at least flip to the center after you've gotten it. So you want to always stay on that center side. You don't want to loop through the outside. I'll do the next one there. I have that middle set of 2 bands. I'll put the band on the peg. Grab the hook, pull it through, make it go to the inside layer, and put it on that center peg. Then we'll do the bottom band there, and then go ahead and work your way around the rest of the pegs using 1 single band to go all the way around. And we'll loop as normal. it down here, same as we did before, it's going to be a little harder, and you don't want to pull it out as far as you did the first time. If you do, you could chance breaking some bands, because it's gotten a lot snugger in there. So what we want to do is we want to pull it out a little bit, because we kind of know what we're doing from the first time. And you want to reach in and grab those bottom 2 bands. Now because it is snugger, you're going to have a lot more bands from the other layers trying to peek through too. So make sure you grab the bottom 2 bands only and loop it around that center, leaving those top 2. Same thing on the other side here. Pull it out just enough to be able to get in and grab those bottom 2 bands. And go ahead and loop that around as well. We are on to our 3rd set. Same thing as we've been doing. We're going to grab the top 2 bands now. Our last set. We are going to pull a single band through that. Make sure it's on the inside of the pegs. You may even need to press it out a little bit just to get in there and maneuver. I'll go through the top set of the second one there. Put it on the peg to grab a little easier. I don't want to move it around to the inside if you're grabbing it like I am from the outside. Make sure to not get that twisted. I need to hold those out again. Oops, and then my top one came off a little bit. Right, and I'm about to put it on twisted. Okay, there's the top one. And there's the bottom one. Alright. Now, okay, so now we want to do the same thing on the right side. So we'll put the band up here. We'll get that top set of 2 bands. Difficulty getting those right now. There we go. Make sure it's on the inside. Push that down. Grab that band. Pull that through and put it on that middle part. Do the same thing with the other one here. We want to keep these hooks in because they're going to help us to grab those bottom 2 bands in a minute too. Okay. After you have put each of those peg ones onto a band and onto the pegs. We've got a band there, 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 and there. We need one more to go across the bottom. And then we want to put one single band on all the rest all the way around. Then we'll loop. Alright, so we'll start looping down here in the bottom left corner. We'll do like we did before, pushing the bottom down so we can see in there. And make sure to grab the bottom two bands on that second of the bottom left peg. Loop those to the center. Same thing on the right side. When I'm doing it on the right side, I'm actually using these two fingers to push down on the bands and supporting the board on this side with my thumb and my hand here. So that's how I'm moving it away like that. So if you guys can see. So, grab the bottom two bands over there. Loop those to the center and the bottom right corner. And then we can just go and loop everything else as normal here. Actually, since we've got I'll do one more on this side too first. Since we've got the bottom locked in and looped now, we can take out these holding sticks. Make sure I checked as I was going, but make sure before you take the sticks out that you do have all of the bands properly looped in there. So that should make it a little bit easier for looping that. Just go ahead and loop all those bands out, up and over. And push those down. Now we're on layer 17. And for layer 17, we're going to decrease the top two pegs. So the top right and the top left here are both going to move down. We're going to take both bands. Once we move them down a peg, we're going to grab those bottom two bands and loop them out, up, and over. Same thing on the other side. Now we're going to do one band all the way around. So that was one band on all 14 of them. We're going to loop the outside again. I'm going to loop the bottom 2 bands out, up, and over. We get to that one where the leg is. We're going to want to pull the leg down, and when you pull it down, you can actually get in there and see those bottom 2 bands. I want to grab that and loop that out, up, and over. Now, we actually want to remove the bands near the legs here. We've got, if you pull open the leg and all, you can see that the only bands on this peg are the ones that are up the top, and there's 2 bands. And we want to get this leg out of the way because he can't stay on this peg, because we got to build more of the Rhino. So we're going to take those top 2 bands, we're going to take them temporarily off of the board. We're going to carefully take the Rhino leg off. We don't want to knock off that top or bottom peg's bands. I want to push that leg. Once we get off of all the bands off of the peg there, I'll push that leg in toward the center. And then we want to put those bands back on. I want to be careful not to lose our other row of pegs too. Alright, and we'll do the same thing on the other side now. Pull that down to see our bands at the top there. Go grab those and hold those temporarily off. Move the leg off and inside. And put those bands back on. Alright. Pull them through a little bit there. Okay. Alright, so here is the first time. Alright, so that was 6 layers. Now we are going to condense the bottom 2 bands up a peg. I'm going to start the bottom left, move that one up, whip the bottom 2 up and over. Now the bottom right, we'll whip that one up, whip the bottom 2 up and over. Now it should be 10 bands around the center here. And place 1 band on each. Alright, right about now, we actually want to get some of our stuffing, because we have a large area, big area, then we're getting into a smaller area, and we actually want to start stuffing him right now. So, as you stuff, I start with some pieces about this big, and we need to make it go all the way to his head. Make sure it actually gets into his head. So sometimes a little extender device is useful. Once you got that piece down, we just keep pushing more in. So as we're coming up to the opening here, we don't want to stuff it all the way up, because we actually still need to do some work around here, and we're going to need some working room. So make sure you don't stuff it too much. Yeah, this was actually another one. It didn't make it to my film of Christmas presents for the family of who I made for 2014. But it was actually a Christmas gift. It was one of the last minute ones that was done after the film. And this one was for my mom. She really loves rhinos. And I always try to get her something that has to do with rhinos if I can find something. And from the first day that I started making loom things, she started asking for a rhino. All the way back on the first couple 3D items I had made, I knew I wasn't ready to make a rhino yet for her, but I knew I would do it one day. And I'm thinking I finally got enough experience from doing a lot of different critters out there that I can make her rhino. So that is what I am doing. Yeah, I made her a Rhino already, and this is the Rhino for myself now. I feel like it should be a little bit wider in there, but it's not fitting the best. Alright, well, we'll fill that in a minute. Alright, so at this point, your Rhino should be starting to take shape, looking a little more like a Rhino. Make sure his eyes are pudgy on the outside. You should have some nostrils in here, actually. If you want, you can fix those up, too. You don't want to go so far in with the hook that you grab the stuffing, but you want to go far enough that you actually get the 3. And remember, there should be 3 loops. The other thing, if you do get 2 loops instead of the 3, that may look pretty cool too. I'm only seeing 2 loops here. The 3rd loop has disappeared. There it is. But yeah, 2 loops might make the nostril look a little more poofy and bigger. 3, if you get all 3 loops, it's going to make it look a little more even. So, whichever way you like your nostrils to be, I'm going to do 2 loops actually to pull out. We'll see how that looks. I think he's looking pretty good. Alright. So now we will start putting on the back legs. It's basically like the front legs, but harder. Because this time, instead of just using 3 loops and 3 layers to put them on, it now is going to use 4 layers to put them on. And we have a pipe cleaner that we've got to work with, too, in the middle of everything. So, this should be fun. Alright, so to put on the back legs, we'll actually need to do an expansion again here. So let's expand first. We're going to expand the top up. So that gives him the rear end hump where his legs are going to be going in. This is the top half of him. And then we'll attach the legs down here. We're going to attach, again, same as before, they're going to be facing what would be down. I know he's getting so tall, he's getting really close to you guys. But it's going to be so that the foot is facing down toward your workspace or table. And we're going to do the same as we did before, and it's going to be these bottom 2 sections. We've got 4 sets of bands on our holding sticks, and we're going to put a band, single band through each set of bands as we attach them on, as we're going around the circle, condensing and expanding and all of that. And then right after the legs, we've got shrinking it down, taking it off, putting the tail on, and we're done. Well, stuffing too. So, you guys are doing great. You're almost there. Keep it up. Alright, so let's put you down for a minute. Single band through the second set there. Oops. There we go. Actually, let's put that on the hook or the peg. Makes it a little bit easier. set done on that side. Do the same thing over here. I'll finish going around the outer edge. One band all the way around. Same thing like we did before. Pull that out to be able to go in and get those bottom two bands. Pull those to the center. Okay, now we want to expand the top two pegs up again. So take the top band, the top two pegs, and move it up. Same thing over here, take the top band, move it up. And second set. Alright, then we'll add the next set of leg bands. Then we'll do one single band around the outer edge again. Sorry. Didn't mean to hit the screen there. Was the second set. This time we're just gonna go one band around them all and connect the third set of legs. Now keep in mind, as we're getting higher up the sets of the pegs, it's not gonna press out as easily and as nicely. Don't overpress them, especially if you have plastic little holding sticks like me, because they can break, but you want to just press it just enough that you can get in there and know what you're doing. And we've done this a couple times now, so you should be getting the feel for what you should be grabbing. So, good luck. And let's keep it up for our third set of attachments here. And then once around the outer edge. Oops, I already got one in there, don't I? I know what I'm doing. Sorry. This is just getting really tall from my working area here. Alright. Now, after this layer, before we place the next layer, as we're placing it, we're going to want to push those pipe cleaners down, because they got to go into the next layer. But for now, we're good to have it how it is. It's getting a bit tight now, isn't it? So I'll put the bands around. Now we'll start with looping that corner, that middle one. Then loop that middle one. now we want to condense the top two pegs. We're going to bring top left peg down and loop the bottom two bands out up over. Bring the top right down and loop the bottom two out up over. And we'll be putting the fourth set of bands on from the back legs, and we'll be doing one band around. And there should be 12 bands going around. Yep. Alright, so be very careful here. This is the last set of bands. So these holding sticks are going to be very tight in there. I'm actually going to push mine down. I know it's going to get in the way of the table too. I'm going to push mine down for a little bit here just so we can see a little bit better what's going on. Hopefully you guys can see a little better. And this is also the layer that we want to push. Well, first of all, let's get a little more room in here. Push those bands down. This is the layer we want to push the pipe cleaner down to. So a lot going on this layer. So let's start. Putting a band up there. Go through. See, I put this band this time directly over the pipe cleaner right there. So make sure that you get that tucked in there. I guess that top layer is almost a little bit easier because you can actually see what you're doing. That one I missed. Go over the pipe cleaner. Get that pipe cleaner tucked in. And we'll do one band around the outer edge. And let's loop. Sneak in there. We're actually going to have to pull the bands back a little more this time, because as much as we hold them out, it's not going to do too much this layer. And what I'm doing too is I'm actually making a fist and putting all 4 of them into that and just squeezing, almost like the weights, you know. when you squeeze those handheld weights. It's easier to squeeze when they're both down there together. I'm not taking those out yet until I get this side done as well. Since I've weaved them, I don't need to be squeezing as tightly down there, because I don't want a chance of breaking my holding sticks. So I have broken a few here and there. So now that we have woven that layer, we can take our sticks out and hope for the best. As in, hopefully you got every band attached as you're putting it on. Otherwise, the legs will start to fall off a little bit here. Alright, doing good. Alright. So just like we did for the front legs, when it was time and we were done with them, we took the bands off this peg here, we moved the legs inside and underneath, well not inside, but through and underneath, so that they'll come forward too. So let's do that again. So let's pull back on the leg, make sure we're seeing just the bands we want. It should be 2 bands, and at the very top here, we're going to hold on to that. Now I'm putting it in the center here, and I'm pressing it with my thumb right up against the side. That's kind of locking it in place, that I have full range of this hand to take it off. Watching carefully not to knock it off of those two. Then push it inside and down. Here is where your pipe cleaner is too, so carefully don't bend that section too much. I'm kind of keeping it straight up and down here, and it'll work itself in a little bit more in a minute. After you've got it pushed through, go ahead and replace those 2 bands back onto that peg. Be very careful that you do not lose your bands in these transition points here. Make sure you've got them securely on the peg before you remove your hook. Let's do that on this other side too here. Hold the 2 bands over on the side, holding it tight. Take it off with the other side. And get snugged on through the bottom down there. And then replace those bands. Okay. If you want, now is another point that you could add a little bit more stuffing. If you also take the stuffing and you kind of roll it in your hands together like that, gets it more of a compact ball when you want it to be a compact ball in the stuffing. And how he's going to look in the belly all depends about how you go about stuffing him. He's kind of looking how you want him to look. And it's not too full again, but full enough. You know what? In light of these being here, I'm going to do a little bit more stuffing than usual at this point. That's just because it's going to be hard to get a little bit of the stuffing past the pipe cleaners and not bend them too much, because they're going to go straight into the stuffing. So we want that to be as easy as possible. A little bit here. Alright. Condense the top 2 and bottom 2 pegs. Alright. So our next step is take those top 2 bands off there. Take the top 2 bands off of there. And do the same with the bottom 2. Make sure you've got all of the bands on there before you take your hook out. Okay. So now we've got 4 and 4 8 pegs. We're going to condense the top 2 one more time, and the bottom 2 one more time as well. So now we're down to 4 pegs. We'll put one band around all 4 of those. Loop that. I never looped that one, did I? So now, after we've looped the last 4, we're going to add what bits of stuffing we need to at this point to finish filling it the rest of the way in. overstuff at this point because we still have a little bit more work to do attaching the tail and all. Okay, I think I'm going to be good with that. So after you've got the stuffing to the point that you want it, I like to take the crochet hook at this point, but you could probably take either the latch hook or the Rainbow Loom hook and gather up all of the 8 bands around the outer edge onto the crochet hook. Now take 2 more gray bands and pull those through those 8 bands and make a slip knot. Okay, next you want to get a single band. You want to take your hook and right on the side here, make sure you don't pull this too tight because we actually want this to be a little looser here because we're just going to tie it in and make it look part of it, and we're going to use this piece as the bulk part of the tail as it comes down. So make sure it's loose enough that we can still get a hook through the center of that in a little bit here. So it'll come down through the 2 bands right there. I'll take a band and pull it through that. And don't lose that end of it. And then go through the 2 bands right there. Pull that through and then make that into a slip knot. And as I'm pulling it, I'm actually pulling it down toward the creation because next we're going to come through, somewhere through all those bands there. Come out through that same hole, grab that band, and pull it down and in. And now it's over here. I'm going to go in through the bottom here and tuck it in just a bit more. So now that band is secured and tucked in. We need to get our tails now. And we need to attach another band, single band, through those. Make sure you transfer all 4 bands there. I'm going to keep one end on my finger. I'm going to hold the other one there. And when we attach our tails, we want to make sure they're going to be facing downward. And we'll take and place the tail there for a second. And we can see how there's a half on the top and the bottom. And I guess I was wrong before. We're not going to go through the center of the tail. We're going to go underneath the center of the tail. And we're going to pull the band from this side through and loop it around that way. Then we're going to pull the band from this side through the other direction and loop it around that way. We want to keep our loops kind of loose so that they blend in and it naturally pulls it down a little bit more too. So let's take our hook and we'll go through the center. So we'll have a set of bands on the left and the right there. Well, might be easier too for some to put a holding stick on the one side to make sure that that doesn't come out in the meantime. Then we'll take that one, pull it through, we'll loop the tail through it, and let it go. And now, since we just went from this side, from the bottom to the top, now we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to go from the top to the bottom, and again, through that center, right under that capping band that we made. And now grab the band from the holding stick, pull that one through, and just like a minute ago, we're going to loop that around the tail. Pull that down. Then here is where we start doing all of the shaping and maneuvering to give him his final touches. And I guess as you're making it, if you want, you could probably start raising up right about here too. Either way. We're just going to bend the tail under a little bit more, keeping it connected and nice where it joins, so it looks like one fluid piece. On the top here, it's kind of a peak, and we want it more spread out to give him wider hips. So we're going to be just pushing that top piece down and squish up a little bit from the side, so it has a little bit of a hump there, but it's a little more wider now. With the legs, just squish them so that they are a little more round. And then here, if we have any pieces of the pipe cleaner sticking out, that's when we're going to want to readjust it so that it's hidden inside. Now, if you don't want to do the pipe cleaners too, it might be strong enough on its own. I haven't tried it, but they're not very long legs. So if you don't have any pipe cleaner, or you can't get a hold of some, that's fine too. Then you also want to make sure that the feet are not bent up and squashed like that, and that they're actually facing forward. Use that ball and socket piece right here to bend it and maneuver it how you need. And if you need to at this point, this is where you can separate the toenails from the feet, making it 2 blacks and 2 grays, or 3 grays, and 2 blacks, 3 grays, 2 blacks, 3 grays. Touch that up if it needs it. Same thing with the other foot there, because he will be able to stand on his little feet. Alright, now the center of a rhino kind of swoops down, so I probably should have stuffed him a little more at that point. But if you push down on the back a little bit and squeeze and pull down on the stomach just a bit, you don't want to pull so much you break the bands, but if you do it a little bit, it gives him a little more shape. I'm just pinching the 2 sides together here, almost making a triangle. As we get to the front, again squashing the legs to make them rounded. Flattening out his feet. Make sure the eyes are pulled out to give it that little bit of dimension on the sides of the head there. Again, for the front nostrils, you could either pull out 2 bands and make them a little bit bigger like this, or you can pull out all 3 and they'll be a little closer to the head, whichever way you want them. Alright, so that is our little Rhino. Another thing, if you want him kind of looking down and maybe eating some grass or something like that, then I made the neck in a fashion that it actually has sort of a bend there. And you can give it a bend, just push it in a little bit there, give it a bit of a bend, and that'll make it so that his head's looking a little more down too. So then he can be eating off of the ground. And if you don't want that, then you just pull up on it a little bit, but be careful not to break some of these cross bands there. So that is our little Rhino. Dedication to my mom there, and her favorite animal being rhinos. I hope you guys enjoyed making him. And if you did, take some pictures, post them, let me see how they came out. I would be excited to see them. And if you need any bands, go ahead and come see us at the store, www.partyonsupplies.net. If you need any other supplies or anything like that, we sell all of that stuff, all different colors. So, alright. Please like, subscribe, follow, all that. Comment, let me know what you're thinking, how you thought of this project. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.